What is up, guys? Randomonium here. We're going to be talking about the results from Week 1 for the 2016 World Championship, and we're also going to be talking about the Week 2 predictions that'll be closing out the group stage and who's going to make it out of the group stage into the knockout stage. So I'm going to go through every single match from Week 1, just talk very briefly about it, then I'm going to talk about what's going to happen in Week 2. So the first match we had on day 1 was G2 versus CLG. And I had predicted that CLG was going to come out of the gates roaring and just upset G2, which I know a lot of people at the beginning of the tournament said G2 was going to absolutely stomp CLG. And it turns out that I was right. CLG came out of the gates storming and was able to beat G2. And I think that really actually put G2 on tilt because they just didn't look the same after that first match. The next match that we saw was Rocks Tigers versus Albus Nox. Albus Nox actually got a little bit of a lead early on, but they were too aggressive. They tried to rush things too much, and they wound up throwing their lead. And Rocks Tigers wound up winning that game, which I expected Rocks Tigers to win, but I was actually very impressed by Albus Nox in their first match of the tournament. Next up, we had H2K versus AHQ. This was a really important match, and I thought that H2K was going to be able to edge this match out, but they made quite a few errors in the game that ended up costing the match. They definitely could have beaten AHQ if they had played a little bit cleaner, but AHQ don't want to take anything away from them. They did what they needed to do to secure the victory. And yeah, now they're in the lead in that group. Next up, we had EDG versus INTZ. This is probably the biggest upset of the tournament so far. INTZ beats EDG, and they beat them in pretty convincing fashion, which was, yeah, it was a complete shock, but really a fantastic game to watch. We also had, on day 1, we had Galaxy versus Splice. And I predicted that Samsung would win this game. I was correct. Splice unfortunately just got a really bad draw into this tournament. And then the final match of the day was TSM versus RNG. I thought that TSM was going to win this one, and I was wrong. TSM definitely looked a little bit rusty. They definitely made a few mistakes. Svenskeren had a really good game on Lee Sin, but it just wasn't enough. I didn't like the pick ban phase for TSM was absolutely horrible in that game, and it really shot them in the foot, and they wound up losing to RNG. Moving on to day 2, we had SKT versus Cloud9. I actually thought that Cloud9 was going to upset SKT just because SKT is known for starting a bit slowly in international tournaments, and Cloud9 was coming off that huge high from the summer split and in qualifying and getting through the gauntlet and all that stuff. But man, was I wrong. SKT came out guns blazing and just absolutely destroyed Cloud9. It wasn't even close. It was just utter domination. I think that Cloud9 made a mistake in really doing a bunch of trash talk. 'Cause I think that really motivated SKT into absolutely just stomping Cloud9, especially Faker stomping Jensen in the mid lane. Next game we had was Flash Wolves versus IMA. I thought that Flash Wolves would be able to win this, but surprisingly, IMA pulled it out and was able to get a win, that really set Flash Wolves behind. They really needed to win that match, especially as the number 1 seed for that group. So that put Flash Wolves in a really bad spot with their first match. Then we had TSM versus Samsung Galaxy. I thought that TSM would win this game. They were able to win it. That was actually really crucial that they won this match. They looked much better. Their pick ban phase was a lot cleaner, and they just looked like a completely different team. They made the adjustments they needed to make after having that day 1 loss. So a very good adjustment from TSM. That's exactly what you need to do in a tournament. Then we had RNG versus Splice. I thought that actually Splice had a shot at upsetting RNG here, but RNG did really well, and they showed up. They're playing much better than I thought they were going to, and they were able to get the victory and go up 2-0 in the group. And then the final two matches were H2K versus INTZ. Um, I thought that H2K was going to win this game, and they were able to, even though INTZ did have that massive upset the day before, and that was really important because H2K was coming off a loss. They needed to get that victory, so they stabilized at 1-1. Because their last match of the group was going to be against EDG. So they needed to pick up that win against INTZ, otherwise they were just completely lost. There was no shot that they're going to make it out of group stage. And then the final match, we had EDG versus AHQ. That match was pretty lopsided. EDG came back pretty strong and just kind of dominated AHQ, if I remember correctly. And yeah, they looked like the EDG that we all expected to show up to Worlds. Moving on to day 3, we started off with CLG versus Albus Nox. I thought CLG was going to win this game, and Albus Nox, I think, shocked everybody, upset CLG. CLG had some really questionable shot calling in the mid to late game, like just some really weird calls that they made that wound up giving Albus Nox the latitude that they needed to win the game. I felt like CLG did not play their game at all. They played Albus Nox's game, and Albus Nox is a talented enough team that they're going to win if you don't punish them, if you don't punish their mistakes. Then we had Rocks Tigers versus G2. I thought that Rocks was definitely going to win this, and they were able to, and that definitely. I think that put G2 even more in tilt because now they're down 0-2, and it just kind of started spiraling out of control for G2. Next up, we had Flash Wolves versus Cloud9. I thought the Cloud9 was going to win this, and they did. This was that really long, like 70-minute game that we had where Flash Wolves was actually winning most of the game. At one point, I think they were up over like 9k gold. Meteos was completely ineffective for most of the game, and then around the 70-minute mark, he landed that flash kick onto Flash Wolves mid laner, and they were able to get that pick, and then they ran it down mid and were able to win the game off of that pick at like the 70-minute mark. But it definitely was not a clean win. There was all sorts of mistakes that were happening, but Cloud9 was able to just kind of drag the game out until the gold lead didn't matter anymore. And then they were able to get, the pick that they needed to get, and that allowed them to secure the win. So, good late game shot calling from Cloud9, but definitely some sloppy play earlier on. Next up, we had IMA versus SKT. SKT won this one. Not really much to talk about. SKT's looking very strong in this group, going up 2-0. Then we had Splice versus TSM. This was an incredibly important game for TSM because they had to go 2-1. Like, you have to go 2-1 in your group starting off the first week, or you're just playing from behind for the rest of the group stage. And Splice is a dangerous opponent. TSM was able to get the victory, which allowed them to kind of finish the week 2-1, which was very important. And then we had the final match for Group D was RNG versus Samsung Galaxy. This really was a must-win for Samsung Galaxy, and also a Samsung Galaxy win really benefited TSM because it put everybody at 2-1 rather than having RNG at 3-0, which would have been very difficult for TSM to get the first place spot if RNG ended the week 3-0. But Samsung Galaxy, thankfully for NA fans, was able to get the victory over RNG, puts everybody at 2-1. So now it's anybody's game in Group D. Moving on to day 4, first matchup was AHQ versus INTZ. I thought AHQ was going to win this one, and they were able to. So yeah, INTZ started off strong, but they wound up ending the group 1-2. So it's going to be interesting to see what adjustments they make moving on to the second week of the group stage. Next up, we had Edward Gaming versus H2K. I thought that Edward Gaming was going to stomp this one, and they definitely won. So not much to talk about. I mean, H2K kind of shot themselves in the foot just by losing that first match, and now they're behind the curve They're only 1-2 in their group, so they've got some ground to make up when we go into the second week. Next up was Albus Nox versus G2. I thought G2 was going to be able to win this one, but Albus Nox yet again surprised everyone, upset G2. That put them up. So they're now 2-1. G2 is 0-3, which basically is a death sentence. If you end the group stage 0-3, even if you go 3-0 in week 2, that only puts you at 3-3, which means that at best you're probably fighting for second place in like a tiebreaker. So G2 is in a really bad spot. About the only thing they can do now is play spoiler. They can really decide whether Albus Nox or CLG advances out of the knockout stage. So if G2 beats either Albus Nox or CLG in the second week, then that might decide who gets second place and who gets third place. Next up, we had CLG versus Rocks Tigers. This one was really interesting because CLG is known for beating teams that they're not supposed to beat, and they're also known for throwing games against teams that they're supposed to beat. And that's exactly what happened. They weren't supposed to beat G2, they beat G2. They were supposed to beat Albus Nox, and they lost to Albus Nox. And then they weren't supposed to beat Rocks Tigers, and they beat Rocks Tigers in a really awesome match. Definitely check that one out if you haven't already. So that allowed CLG to go up 2-1. Drops Rocks Tigers down to 2-1, so now it's anybody's race pretty much in Group A. It's now 2-1 for the top 3 teams, and then you've got G2 at the bottom at 0-3. All right, SKT versus Flash Wolves, the Korean Killers, Flash Wolves. Yet again, they show up. They beat SKT. This was actually a really essential win for Flash Wolves because they were already 0-2 in the group. If they had gone down 0-3, then their run was pretty much done. And also by them beating SKT, that actually also helps out Cloud9 because now both SKT and Cloud9 are 2-1 in their group, while IMA and Flash Wolves are 1-2. So this is the last match from the Group B, and Cloud9 was able to win this one. This is what allowed them to go up 2-1 against IMA. IMA is now 1-2, and that puts Cloud9 in a really good position moving into the second week to make it out of the group stage, as long as they're able to at least one of their matches. They really need to win 2 of their matches next week in order to guarantee that spot into the knockout stage. All right, so here's the results after the first week. So in Group A, we've got 3 teams that are all tied at 2-1, and G2 is at 0-3. I ordered them Rocks Tigers, CLG, Albus Nox, because that's how I feel like the teams performed. I felt like Rocks Tigers was the best. CLG was really good, but they were inconsistent. They had that one game where they lost to Albus Nox, where they probably should have won, and they probably should be 3-0 right now. And then I have Albus Nox, because Albus Nox, they were winning at the beginning of the match against Rocks Tigers. They beat CLG, they beat G2. You got to give them some props. They played a really fantastic first week. It's going to be interesting to see what adjustments they make moving into week 2. In Group B, it's a little bit of a closer race. We've got SKT and Cloud9 at 2-1, and then we've got IMA and Flash Wolves at 1-2. What this basically means is that if SKT and Cloud9 win 2 out of their 3 matches, then they're pretty much guaranteed to get out of the group stages. IMA and Flash Wolves need to realistically win all 3 of their matches to have a really good shot. If they win 2 of their matches, there is a shot that they could tie and go to a tiebreaker. But they really need to be looking to win all 3 of their matches if they want to advance out of the group stage. In Group C, we've got Edward Gaming at the top at 2-1, AHQ right behind them, and then H2K and INTZ at the bottom. I feel like H2K has a better shot at making it out of groups than INTZ, but they're behind. Because they lost that head-to-head matchup against AHQ, they have to beat AHQ in the second week, and then they'll most likely have to go to a tiebreaker if AHQ and H2K have an equal record. So H2K has their work cut out for them. They have to beat AHQ in week 2. If they don't beat AHQ in week 2, then they're done. And then in Group D, it's very tight race. TSM, RNG, Samsung Galaxy all at 2-1. Splice is at 0-3. And the very interesting thing here is TSM beat Galaxy, RNG beat TSM, and Galaxy beat RNG. So we've got this like little rock paper scissors game going on. So it's pretty much anyone's match. All 3 of those teams I feel like are good enough to make it to the knockout stage. It's just a question of who's going to show up in the second week. So yeah, I'm very interested about Group D. That's probably the group that I'm most interested in right now. All right, so moving on to the second week, day 5 is going to be Group A. It's going to be all the Group A matches. That's how the second week of Worlds work. Is that every day it's going to be just one group playing, just rapid fire 6 matches, and then you're going to know who's in and who's out for Group A. So the first match of that day is going to be G2 versus Rocks Tigers. I think that Rocks Tigers is going to win that one. I think that Rocks Tigers is going to make the adjustments they need to be, and they're going to shore up some of their weaknesses, and they're going to be a much tougher team in week 2. Next up, we've got Albus Nox versus CLG. This actually might be the most important match for Group A. So I've got these stars here. These are the matches that I'm particularly interested in watching, and these are the matches that I feel like are going to decide the group. So you see I've got that star next to Albus Nox versus CLG. That is one of the most important matches that CLG will ever play. Right there. So they've got to beat Albus Nox. Because they're already down 0-1 against Albus Nox. So if they go down 0-2 against Albus Nox, then the chances of them making it out of the group stages is very slim. Then CLG is going to have to go up against G2 right after they play Albus Nox. That's a really hard transition. You go from a must-win game to another must-win game. I feel like CLG has a much better chance at beating Albus Nox than they do G2 just because of the order. And G2 is really going to be looking for some revenge. They're really going to be looking to spoil some of CLG's hopes and dreams here. So I definitely think that G2 has an advantage in that matchup just because they'll be fresh and CLG won't. It'll literally be like a 10-minute break between CLG finishing their game and then starting their next game. So very hard on CLG, and it might play against them. Then we've got Albus Nox versus Rocks Tigers. I think that Rocks will win that pretty easily. And then finally we've got G2 versus Albus Nox. This one is really important because if G2 beats CLG, then as NA fans, you really got to root for G2 to also beat Albus Nox. It's going to that one might decide whether there's going to be a tiebreaker or whether it's just going to be a straight up win-loss for either Albus Nox or CLG to determine the second place in the group. So that's going to be a nail biter. But even if it turns out that Albus Nox wins that game and Albus Nox is ahead and it looks like they might be going to the knockout stage, CLG will get one last shot against Rocks Tigers. And if they can 2-0 Rocks Tigers, that'd be freaking phenomenal. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I think Rocks Tigers is going to make the adjustments they need to make, and they will wind up beating CLG in the last match. And they're going to go 3-0 this week. Day 6 is going to be Group C. So in this group, the only match I care about, AHQ versus H2K. That's the only match that matters in my mind. Like, if H2K does not win that match, it's done. It's pretty much an auto second place victory for AHQ. So that's the match that I care about. I think that EDG is going to go 3-0 in their group in the second week. I think INTZ might be able to pick up one win. They might be able to play spoiler. I don't think that they're going to make it out of the group stage. So it really comes down to AHQ versus H2K in that group. Day 7, Group D. Every single match is important in Group D. Like, seriously, every single match is important. Even though Splice is 0-3, Splice winning any one of their games could be the difference between a team getting second place or getting third place. So Splice can play spoiler to all three of these teams because every single team is so competitive with each other. Especially TSM has to beat RNG. They got to go 1-1 against RNG. RNG has to beat Samsung. They have to go 1-1 because if you go down 0-2 to a team, then if you have equal records, you don't get that tiebreak game. So you got to go 1-1 against as many teams as you can at the very least. So yeah, that's going to be really interesting. It might really come down to that last match, that RNG versus TSM match. That might determine who gets first place, who gets second place, and who gets third place. So very exciting. I'm very looking forward to day 7. All right, day 8. It's all about Cloud9. How Cloud9 performs. They have to have a better showing against SKT. They can't just get absolutely dominated like they did last time. And then I really feel like they've got to also beat Flash Wolves again. Like if they really believe in themselves and they want to get out of the group stage, they have to go 2-0 against Flash Wolves. Because Flash Wolves is that team that I think is going to come on strong in the second week. I've also got them in, as far as IMA versus Cloud9, I think Cloud9 will be able to win that one as well. And then the final game I'm really looking at is Flash Wolves versus SKT. Because if Flash Wolves can upset SKT for a second time, that actually opens the door for Cloud9 to potentially steal first place or maybe force a tiebreaker. But it really is going to be dependent upon that Cloud9 versus SKT match. If SKT wins that match, then it doesn't really matter. It's kind of a moot point because they'll be up 2-0, and that would mean that, I think it's actually impossible. If SKT wins against Cloud9, then there's no way that Cloud9 can beat SKT or get first place over SKT. All right, so this is my original predictions for how the groups were going to go. So you can see, I thought that G2 was going to get second place. I thought Cloud9 was going to get second place. I thought HQK was going to get second place, and I thought that Galaxy was going to get second place. So this is how it's changed. So I now have CLG in second place. The only one that's really changed has been Group A. So I got CLG in second place, Albus Nox third, G2 fourth. I don't think there's any real way that G2 can come back. I'm literally 50-50 on H2K and AHQ. I actually think that AHQ has a better shot just because they're entering the second week 2-1. But I'm crossing my fingers and I'm hoping. I don't want EU to get swept out of the tournament and go 0-3. That'd be really sad, especially after they had such a fantastic Season 5 performance and then they just had a horrible MSI performance. I would like to see at least one EU team make it out of group stages, and H2K really is EU's last hope. So they've got to perform in the second week. So anyway, that's pretty much it. That's how I think that the second week is going to go. I'm really excited. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you like the content on the channel, please subscribe. I will be uploading more VOD matches once the second week starts. I'm going to try and do at least 3 out of the 6 matches from each group. It really is going to depend on, which matches I find really interesting. But yeah, definitely hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you all have a great World Championship. I hope your teams win. This is Ramonium signing off.